We're ready to go.
The Newcastle Borough Council's Cabinet meeting today. Welcome to our Cabinet members who are joining us today. That's Councillor Trevor Johnson, Portfolio Holder for Environment and Recycling, Councillor Jill Heatham, Portfolio Holder for Community Safety and Wellbeing, Councillor Andy Fear, Portfolio Holder for Strategic Planning, and Councillor Jill Waring, Portfolio Holder for Leisure, Culture and Heritage. And sitting next to me is Councillor Stephen Sweeney, Deputy Leader and Portfolio Holder for Finance, Town Centres and Growth. And I'm Council Leader Simon Tagg. Welcome also to our officers that are joining us today, and also to people online who may be joining us on Zoom. If you'd like to see the agenda, it's in the section below for a link there to see our agenda. Moving to our agenda, item number 1 is apologies. I don't have any apologies, all Cabinet members are present. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Any declarations from members for any items on the agenda? Not seeing any. Item 3 is minutes of the previous meeting of the 18th of October, attached 3 to 8. Can we agree those as a correct record?
Agreed.
All agreed. So item 4, first item of business, is the Wallis Quarry odour issues update. And this is a report we've been having for many months now, as we've been monitoring the crisis at Wallis Quarry, the ups and downs, and the good news and the bad news that we've had over the last couple of years. And as usual, our Chief Executive will take us through the report to start off with, followed by comments and questions from members.
Okay, thank you. The report follows the tried and tested format that you'll be familiar with. It's also got a summary in it of the settlement agreement that we reached with Wallis Quarry back in September. Within the report, we have got the complaints that have been received by the council and also the complaints to the Environment Agency, as well as the data that we get from the 4 air quality monitors that tell us the percentage of time at each of those monitors that the hydrogen sulfide level is above the World Health Organization annoyance threshold. Now, if I start off with the monitoring station data, you will see in the report that has been fairly consistently low now for a number of months, with the exception of the Gallingale site, which has been, substantially lower than it was, say, a year ago, but it is the one of the 4 monitoring stations that has been perhaps stubborn in its ability to reach 0. But the most recently reported data, which isn't in the report, was for the 24th of October to the 30th of October, and that was straight zeros across the board for the 4 monitoring stations, which is something that really has only ever happened occasionally over the time that we've been doing this. So the hydrogen sulfide levels that we're measuring in the community are well down, and I would say are, given the duration that they've been down, are showing some considerable stability. In terms of the complaint numbers, we've had a pattern over the last year or so where the complaints to the Environment Agency tend to be substantially higher than the complaints to ourselves, and within that, there will also be some double counting, that some people will complain to us and complain to the Environment Agency. In October, we saw complaint levels to ourselves rise significantly. So in September, we were looking at complaint levels on a weekly basis of 9, 13, 14, 13. And then in October, from the beginning of October, stepped up dramatically to 42, 52, then up to 74, and then starting to come back down again. Now, two things that I would observe, and I need to bring to Cabinet's attention. Usually, we have a very strong correlation between complaint data and the data from the monitoring stations. The complaint data for October really doesn't correlate to the complaint data. So the data for the 17th of October, which is our highest level for some time, 74 complaints that we received, was against monitoring data of 0% exceedance at one, 0.6% exceedance at another, 0.3% exceedance, and at Gallingale, which is the most problematic, 1.5% of the time the annoyance threshold was exceeded. So normally we would be looking at data at complaint levels below 20 for a month that had that sort of profile. The other thing that is different about October is, I think it's probably for the first time we have seen the complaints to ourselves more or less mirror the numbers to the Environment Agency. And indeed, in October, we actually had more. In 1 week in October, we had more complaints than the Environment Agency. Normally, the Environment Agency are 2 or 3 times our level. So it appears that there's been something happening within the community in October that is not consistent with the pattern that we've seen previously, and not consistent with the monitoring information that we're seeing. So I think over the next couple of weeks, we'll see what happens to the data and see whether that's been some sort of aberration or whether there is some further analysis that we need to do there. You'll see in the report that the Environment Agency continue its monitoring of the site. They are the lead regulator and are making both announced and unannounced visits. Key changes or key actions that have happened over the last while, the main capping on activities on the site that were scheduled for 2022 have now been fundamentally completed. This is information from Wally's Quarry Limited. Further soil will be brought on over the coming months, but they've now got just over 80% of the landfill surface has now been capped either permanently or temporarily. And you'll be aware that one of the issues that we've been grappling with the site has been the level of leachate, and leachate forms when rainwater percolates through into the mass of waste, which of course is contained within a broadly impermeable membrane or tanking. With the increased capping, there's a need then to manage surface water so that it doesn't ingress into the waste mass. And over the last while, Wally's have been building a series of bunds and ditches and 2 new lagoons on the capped site in order to collect rainwater and discharge it from the site rather than have it actually ingress and form leachate. And they're also reporting improvements in the gas management arrangements. You'll be aware from previous conversations we've had on previous briefings here about issues around the diameter of pipes within the gas management system. There's now a large diameter site ring main that has been substantially completed, and they've also increased the diameter of the pipework in other elements of the gas management system. And that will allow more gas to be collected, reduce risks around condensation, and therefore a more efficient system of collecting gas and enabling that to be transported for destruction at the gas utilization plant. So I think that the picture that we're seeing on the site is relatively stable one, as reflected by both what Environment Agency are reporting and what the 4 monitoring stations are reporting. I say we do have some unusual profile of the complaints data that we do need to look at in a little bit more detail.
Thank you, Martin, for your comprehensive report as always. I think just touching on that complaint data, I think we're entering a different period of the year now, aren't we, seasonally? And I think we'll probably see at our next cabinet and in the next few weeks how that either settles down or whether increases in both complaints and monitoring problems do do occur or not. That's the big question, really, which I think the community are asking at the moment. And also, I think we as councils, I'm sure officers as well, are just holding our breath to find out what's going to happen during this period, when in the past we've had really bad instances of smell over the winter period. But thank you for your report. I think as for the abatement notice, which we reported at our last cabinet meeting, I think the elements of that are being progressed and moved forward with yourselves speaking to the operator, and also involving the EA, which I think is good news for the people of the borough, that we have an abatement notice and that we have a framework around that to ensure that we can respond to any issues if they arise, particularly. Open it up to questions and comments at the moment, Stephen.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and thank you again for this report, Martin. It's its usual exemplary format. On the number of complaints received, I might have missed this, I don't know. On the 17th to 23rd of October, there's £186. What's the Borough Council version of that? What?
£10.
So what is that? Oh, complaints. On the 17th to the 23rd, you've got £186, 886 complaints, but nothing on the other side.
Right. Okay. So 17th, the 10th, the 23rd, the 10th, the number of complaints for the Borough Council is 74. The following week, 31, and then the week of the 31st to the 6th, 27.
And what was the EA one on the 24th to the 30th?
28.
Oh, right.
So that's what
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
No, thank you, Martin. Thank you.
Any other comments? Anything to add, Andy?
No, I think this is, again, a good news report in many ways, although the little spike is something we need to be aware of, and that I think our success has been brought about by doggedness in this. So certainly keeping our eye on the ball and making sure that we go through strictly monitoring this in the winter, where it did start, didn't it, a long time ago, is going to be important. The data is interesting. I don't know whether we can focus down on it enough for this. I mean, do we know whether this data over a week was a spike on a particular day? In other words, was there a particularly unpleasant incident one day that provoked this sort of material, or was it a lingering problem for the week? Perhaps we don't collect the data at that granular level. I don't know, but that perhaps would explain the little spike if we do.
Yeah, we do indeed collect that data down to that level. Dave, do you happen to have that figure to hand? No, but we can come back to you with we collect it by not only by day, but we're able to see sort of what time of day the complaints relate to, etc.
Okay, any other comments from Cabinet members? I think also just to update Cabinet, since our last meeting, we've had a meeting of political leadership with the EA and other partners that happened last Friday, which we had the Claire Denise from the EA, we had health representatives, we had representatives from the County Council, the leader of the County Council, had representatives from the Police and Fire, plus the Police and Fire Commissioner, and myself had a session of what I would like to call political accountability for the work of the organisations within this. And I think one thing we pressed was for continuing monitoring on this side. Of members will be aware that monitoring is only the monitoring equipment is only in place until next March. We need it to carry on longer than that. I think that's the view from a lot of people. It's my view, and a view from other leaders of organisations that were at the meeting, is that we need to continue that. So the SCG officers group has been asked to obviously work with the EA to ensure that we do have that continued monitoring going forward. I think Andy, you're quite right. As I said earlier, we're approaching a period now where we'll see whether the work that's taken place over the summer is bearing fruit or not, and I think the community is waiting to see that. I have seen myself and also heard from residents of an increase in odours over the last couple of weeks, particularly in the Silverdale and entrance to the site area. I don't think it's as widespread as it has been in previous years, but it's something to watch. And I think that relationship which we're now building with the operator through the abatement notice framework, I think is something we should use to ensure that they obviously do what they're supposed to do. And I think using the group we've now formed to also hold the EA's hand to the fire, and also Health as well, who are monitoring this and are giving out information on this, is that they are also keep their eye on the ball on this, and that's really important as we move forward. One thing I'd just like to say, Martin, it says that the Jerome data third quarter is attached at Appendix 3. It's not online, so we will get that. We'll get that. And just any comments on that Jerome data, because you didn't touch on that.
Yeah, I mean the Jerome data allows, just to recap what the Jerome data is. These are handheld devices that we're able to put for sort of a week or more in individual properties, so that they can we can see what's happening within properties. We publish that data every quarter, and over this quarter we've seen some instances where it's gone over the annoyance threshold. We've seen no instances where it's gone over the health risk thresholds. So it continues to provide a useful picture for us as to what's happening inside people's homes. We've also since the last quarterly Jerome report bought effectively a cabinet for the Jerome, which allows us to simultaneously have a Jerome inside a property and outside the property, so we can actually see what the correlation is there. So at the next quarter, you'll probably see even slightly richer information coming through from the Jeromes.
Okay, thank you for that. And just to reassure people that information will be made available as soon as we can make it available. I think, Martin, we are looking to revamp our website portal for this to become more interactive and more up to date, and more links, etc., to where to seek advice if there are health issues, or where they can get more information about the EA's role on this. So look out for that in the next couple of weeks for that to be up and running. Okay, recommendation is we obviously note the report and discuss and comment and ask questions of the report. We've done that. All agreed? Agreed. Thank you. Item 5 is Future High Streets Fund and Town Deal Projects, Quantity Surveyors Services. Stephen's going to lead on this. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you again, Leader. If you read 1.1, it tells you all the projects this council's doing. We need a quantity surveyor, and we don't have a quantity surveyor on hand in the building. So this is basically saying that we're going to buy the services in of a quantity surveyor, because it's something we just don't have, and that's it really. We need a quantity surveyor and we're buying it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. As you said, it's vitally important for the to progress these massive investments that we're making in our town centre and our borough as a whole, whether that's in Kidsgrove, Newcastle. And I think it's only right that we get that professional assistance in. You know, the days are gone when councils would have had these people on their books, if ever. And I've certainly not a district council of our size. So I think buying that in is the right thing. And as Stephen pointed out, those bullet points under 1.1, there's a lot of work that this council will be carrying out over the next couple of years to transform the borough, using that £55 million plus that we receive from the government for Kidsgrove, Newcastle, and for our Future High Streets Fund. And I think watch this space for more cabinet reports coming before the end of the year to progress some of those, particularly the Future High Streets Fund, as we move into delivery mode on these schemes. So recommendation is that delegated authorities granted to the Executive Director Growth and Development to award the contract for the quantity surveyor, and that the portfolio holders kept informed of the outcome and along the way as work is carried on, and obviously Cabinet informed the outputs of that work as we have planning applications going in and contracts being signed for that regeneration work. Unless we've got any other speakers, should we move to the recommendation? All agreed? Thank you. Item 6 is Christmas car parking 2022. Over to Steve to lead on this one.
Yeah, despite what the Daily Mail says, this council doesn't use car parking as some massive cash cow. There's certain things we do at Christmas to encourage people to come to our town centre, and this year's offer, if you like, is from the 18th of November. Parking at Newcastle Midway car park, which is our main car park, will be free from 10 to 1 o'clock every day. After 1 p.m, it'll cost £1. Parking on Sundays is free. It's always free, and it will continue to be free on council car parks all the year round. The free parking offer will run through the Christmas and New Year period up to the 6th of January 2023 to support this year's Christmas programme events, including the Castle Artisan Market, Christmas Light Switch On, which is massive in this town, and late night shopping. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, endorse this. If you remember last year, we brought a parking strategy to this cabinet, which was endorsed, which led to the first season, so to speak, of offering these concessions at Christmas. I think it's the right thing to do again this year, which supplements the £1 after one, which Steve said, which carries on all year. That's £1 to park as long as you want after 1 o'clock until 8 a.m. the next morning. And then this additional midway free parking for the morning part will give that flexibility for people to come in and do their Christmas shopping. Not only do that, but also stop for a coffee or meet friends, or even go for a meal or something, or stay into the evening. So I think it's that flexibility which people have been asking for from parking from the borough. I think the idea of free parking 24/7, I think a lot of people don't understand that the car parks are each seen as an individual business in regard, and have business rates against them. So there are costs of maintenance, staffing, and all sorts of things that are on these sites. So to do that would actually impact the council budget massively, and we'd have to make cuts elsewhere. So for me, car parks have to wash their face to a certain degree, and but we can offer these concessions, particularly around Christmas, which is the busiest time for our shops and traders. And of course, we're working very closely with the BID, Newcastle Business Improvement District, to ensure that the events on Christmas do generate footfall. We've got the artisan markets, we've got the Christmas light switch on, as Stephen has mentioned. We also have the late night shopping and other events that have been arranged by the BID throughout the festive season. So recommendations for us that we approve the recommendations for the Christmas parking, and also note that it's still free on Sundays, as it always is, and note the continuation of the £1 after one in all borough council car parks, and approve the late night shopping free parking at the midway, and delegate to our officers, and in consultation with the portfolio holder, Councillor Sweeney, to implement these charges. Opening it up to any questions or comments on that. Andy.
Oh, thanks very much. No, I think, as you've rightly said, Simon, that it is right to do this. I think it was successful when we last did it, so why not do it again? We do need at this time to encourage trade. It's going to be a hard time, so making sure that we make it as good as possible for our traders is very, very important. At the same time, as you rightly say, car parks do have overheads, and we can't simply have them sitting there with no cost associated at all, because as you rightly say, if we do that, we're going to have to find the money from somewhere else. And I think we all want to say that those somewhere else's are equally as important. But this seems to me a good balance, and I think it's the right way to try and encourage trade into the town at a crucial time of year.
Thank you, Andy. Any other comments from Cabinet members? Not seeing any. So recommendations that I've read out is we were obviously welcoming the Christmas car parking plan for 2022, and of course goes live in November, and hopefully will help the businesses to have a good Christmas and people to come in and enjoy our historic town and the markets which we've got on over the festive period. So all agreed? Thank you. We move then to item 7, which is additional spaces for crematorium remains burials at Bradwell and the new cemetery and crematorium regulations. Trevor, you're going to introduce this.
Thank you, Leader. The situation at the moment is that we've got quite a backlog of ashes waiting to be interred at Bradwell. And the garden, the cremated remains garden extension is being progressed, and we're striving to get it underway before Christmas. And hopefully, we'll be getting a lot of customers for it. Okay, anything you want to add, Simon?
Okay, thank you for that, Trevor, and thank you for your work on this. Of course, we had this proposal for a couple of years now, obviously for using some of the land. I should just correct in the recommendation; it should be Chatterley Way, not Chatterley Valley, in the report. It says under item 2. Chatterley Drive, yes. So if we could amend that to be open space off Chatterley Drive, not Chatterley Valley. Also, as you know, the other side of the A500 to intern people, Trevor, which is, I don't think we've got other plans for that bit of land over there. But I think as the map points out on which is attached, you can see where we are dividing this land. And of course, there was an early proposal for possibly to have some houses on the other bit, but we've since designated the rest of the area as a carbon capture area around the existing playground, and we're going to be planting woodland and still leaving a lot of open space for the people to use. But the basically more or less half of it will be integrated into the crematorium grounds for that extra space that will last us many, many years to come. I think that's the right thing to do, because as Trevor pointed out at a previous cabinet meeting, those people that and the families of those people that are cremated at Bradwell want to have their remains kept close to where the cremation took place. This will provide us with that extra space. So I think recommendations before us are that the cabinet approve, particularly the cemetery and cremations regulations which are attached to this, which Trevor is bringing for us today, which is an update on those, and that they be implemented into a consultation with consultation with the portfolio holder, and that the cabinet agrees in principle to extend the burial area of the Bradwell crematorium into the space off Chatterley Drive, retaining public access to the area, and to be planted with trees as part of the carbon capture plans of the council. And the cabinet agrees to the principle of external consultants developing a new scheme layout for the other side of it for our crematorium extension. Open it up to any sort of questions or comments on that, Steve.
Yeah, thank you. We went to cremation there a couple of months ago, didn't we? And I think when somebody's being cremated in your part of the family of it, I think you want the place to be as near as perfect as it could be, really. I think it's all part of the sort of the grieving process that these things are done. And I've got to say, when I went there, say a couple of months ago, I was massively impressed by the facility, the upkeep, the gardening. I just felt it was an absolute credit to this borough council. Bradwell crematorium. I said, no one, you go to crematorium for one reason only. And I think you just want it to be right. And I really think it is right. I think it's a super facility, and I think it's something that we should be very proud of for the people of Newcastle. And it's ever likely that the people's cremated is getting full, because it must be a very popular place to put your loved one's ashes. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll back you on that. We went to a former colleague's funeral, didn't we? And a lot of money and effort has been spent on revamping the inside of the crematorium building, which is a credit, isn't it, to the borough? And of course, when we look outside, we can see the limited space we have at the moment, and this proposal will give us that extra space to provide for the borough. And I'm really pleased that the other half of it will be a carbon capture area, and we'll be having trees planted in this planting season around the play area as we kick off and start our commitment to planting trees to reduce our carbon emissions in future, and using sites such as this, like this and another 60 sites across the borough, urban green spaces that have previously been under threat over the years for possible housing are protected, and this one next to the crematorium is one of those, and I look forward to seeing the trees planted on there before next spring. So recommendations I've read out, all agreed? Thank you. Next item is the financial and performance review report, second quarter, July to September this year. And first is the financial update. Steve's going to introduce that.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I've got nothing much to say on this, really. A quarter ago, we were £129,000 over. Now that's come down to 105, and I've every confidence. In fact, it will balance at the year end. I'll put my I'd wager that actually. It will balance. Money is coming back to us now. Businesses are reopening. Car parking's it's not where we'd like it to be, but it's better. Jubilee's coming back. Everything is coming back from, and I have absolutely no qualms about saying that this will be balanced by the year end. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And just to add, obviously, we made plans in the budget in February to ensure we had the cost of living fund to ensure that helped to this year's rises in inflation and the bills we all know about, and the energy costs. So we've set in good stead because of the decisions we took in February, and we're integrating that again into our next budget setting process for next February, so we can build in for those increases as they continue during the high inflation and cost of living. So we'll move to the performance data. As usual, go through section by section. First priority, and just to say this, I think, Martin, this is the last performance data we'll have on these old indicators. As we know, in September, we agreed our new council plan. So the next quarter, which will come to us in a couple of months' time, will be relating to the new set of indicators, which are more challenging, but interesting. For our last quarter, under the old measures, I believe we're up in the 80% of everything being green or on target, which is really good news. So first priority is local services work for local people, and we have a series of environmental ones and recycling ones there. Any comment, Trevor, on those?
Well, I feel rather smug as I go through this, and I think it's fantastic set of results. And I think a lot of thanks must go to all the team down at the depot for seeing this all happening. Thanks.
And again, thank you to your work, particularly over the last few months when you haven't been in the best of health as well. So it's good to see you back fighting with us now, which is really good. Next is the first of the reds, which comes on the second page there, related to percentage of requests resolved at first point of contact. In the comments there, you'll see the reasoning for that is obviously the changes within the team and the hub structure which we brought in, which has led to training, impacts of training. I think it's something we need to watch. I think because this is obviously our one front door, and phone requests and etc. and all sorts of requests that come in need to be actioned as soon as possible. So we need to ensure we get back on target on there, and it's something that I'll be watching very closely. As we go over the page, we have a series of revs and bends on there for Steve to comment on.
Nothing adverse to say. They're all within there where they should be, and it's all going along very nicely. And I think the staff have taken to the new the one council approach, and it's working absolutely fine.
Thank you, Steve. Moves us on to our second and last red, which is one which has been read for quite a while now, isn't it? The human resources average number of days per employee lost from sickness, and I think we're still in a situation where the last few quarters we've been coming out of COVID, and then the actual of ailments that have come out of people mixing more after working from home for a while. And I think we are seeing some of that here, but we still are off target, and something we need to watch. And I'll be speaking to officers, particularly our HR officers, to ensure that we have robust measures in place for measuring this and also reducing this. But as it says there, obviously comparison with last year is a bit irrelevant because of the amount of working from home, but still we are seeing a rise in the number of people, particularly on short-term sick. So we need to watch that, and we will be watching that as a cabinet. Moving on to our second priority, which is growing our peoples and places, and we have some moving pages over. We've got the planning arena for you, Andy. Any comments on that?
Well, only to, again, like my colleague Trevor, to feel rather smug. I mean, these are excellent results here. And I'd like to thank all the people in the section for working so hard that these results are so impressive. And obviously complacency is a terrible thing, but at the moment we don't have any problems in this field, and I'm very, very pleased to see that.
Thank you. And there's one there, and Steve, for you, percentage of investment of portfolio vacant of our owned by the borough. Yeah.
No, none at all. It's again, it's within targets. I'm perfectly happy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next portfolio is healthy, active, and safe borough, and we have a series there for Jill Heatham on community safety. Any comments on those?
Yes, I think I'm very pleased that there has been a drop in cases. I think that just demonstrates really how hard our staff have been working with, particularly antisocial behaviour in the area, which has got to be something to be applauded.
And the same on the housing prevention, homelessness prevention section. I think is something we need to watch very closely over the next few months as the issues with rising energy bills and mortgages start to bite, and it's something which we'll be ensuring that our staff and we've got the levers and the funds available to our homelessness budget to ensure people don't fall into homelessness, and if they do, we can then help them to get into accommodation as soon as possible, particularly as the winter's approaching. So we'll be watching that very closely. And then there's some for Jill there on J2 and museum.
All green stars for me. That's wonderful. Performances on or above target, so there's really good results. With respect to the museum, I absolutely love reporting on the museum. It's such a wonderful place. It does continue to flourish. We have some great officers there, and new staff and management, and they're making the most of this wonderful facility for us. There's some good things going on. There's some exhibitions, the cafe's doing well, and activities are stacking up now. We've got a new website update and all the events for Christmas and next year, including the 800th and the 50th anniversary, are all there, and it's just getting better. Moving on to J2, overall J2 is performing very well. The current membership is 2,699, so that continues to increase. And the staff are constantly looking and for improvement in membership offers. Swimming lessons are doing well, and it's overall really good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jill. Good to see both of those, fighting back, and the wonderful museum and the the new and improved gym, etc. in J2, and also now we have a new cafe operator as well within, so looking good for both of those. And let's get that membership up to 3,000, which I think, of course, when we have our more robust stretching targets, I think we have set that target for J2 for the future. Moving to our last portfolio priority, which is a town centre for all. We've got a number of indicators there to do with car parking, footfall and stall occupancy. I'll pick up the footfall. I think, again, a buoyant footfall really for the town. I think a reduction from the first quarter, but of course this covers the summer months when people are away, etc. But I think still an increase on what we've seen in previous years. And I haven't looked at the data, but we were running ahead of what we were in 2019 post-COVID. So interesting to see if that trend will continue. So good news in that respect. On parking and museum, we've touched on parking early on the strategy. Is there anything you want to add on parking? And then the markets.
Yes, parking showing an increase. The markets, I think if you stand still with markets, you go backwards. And we had an event, not Saturday gone, in the evening, on a Saturday evening, and we had the foresight a few years ago to put electric points in on our market stalls, and this is a start of trying to get them used in the evening as well as during the day, and it was a start. It was something we can look at, and it's something that we can build on. The Yum Festival, I think it was called. It was a food and music sort of thing. But it was, it's a start. It's because we've got electric, we can make advantage of these things now. And I think it's a good strategy, and I think it's something we need to follow. Thank you.
Okay, yes, I agree with you. And it was the doggy market, wasn't it, so to speak, on Sunday, which was well attended. And we have as I said earlier, we've got our series of markets in the run up to Christmas, which is going to be exciting. And yet again, free parking is available on all council car parks on market Sundays. So and also, of course, our other measures which we announced earlier will help the market in the week and on Saturdays. There's a last, I missed this one because it's so new, is the community safety update to do with our town centre and sleep outreach, and for sleep homelessness and rough sleepers, even if I can say it, and rough sitters. Anything to add, Jill?
Yeah, I'd like to, since we've had the Rough Sleeper Initiative roles, there has been a huge improvement in the services that are offered and the reduction in rough sleepers. More people are accessing services, and that is down to the hard work of the people in these roles.
Thank you, Jill, and thank you for your work on that as well. And I believe you've got a special visitor coming in a few days' time, which I'm sure the public will find out about at the time, but we'll leave that at the moment. But I think overall a good picture, as I say, and next quarter we'll have the new indicators which will begin to stretch us as the council, our officers, and us as cabinet members to ensure we keep within our new priorities and also our new aspirations for within those priorities as part of our council plan. So we've been asked to look at the report and also to give any comments. We've done that, so all agreed. Next item is number 9, which is the forward plan, which is attached to the agenda, and we'll go through it page by page. First page covers the meeting today. We've taken all of those items, and we then have a December meeting, which has been detailed there on page 94 to 95. And then we also have a January meeting, which is heavily indicated there by budget items, which is we start to gather pace on setting the budget before next February. So that goes on to page 95 and 96. Can we agree the forward plan? Excellent. Item 10 is urgent business. We don't have any items of urgent business, so no need to exclude the public. And then lastly, I haven't had any indications from councillors that they wish to speak or from members of the public. So I believe that concludes our agenda. Thank you for attending.